Players not protected over schedule, Sabalenka. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka says tennis authorities follow their interests with regards to the tennis calendar and are not focusing on protecting all of us. Players have been raising concerns about the schedule in recent months, saying it is too long and intense. Leading players on the women's tour are expected to play at least 20 mandatory events, 4 Grand Slams, 10 WTA 1000s and 6 500s. Belarusian Sabalenka said she would skip some events this year to protect her body. The season is definitely insane, and you see so many players getting injured, Sabalenka said after her 6-3 6-3 victory over Sorana Cîrstea at the Brisbane International. The balls are quite heavy, so it's a lot of struggle for all of us. Sabalenka and world number 2 Iga Swiatek were deducted ranking points for not playing enough WTA 500 events last season. I'm skipping a couple of events in order to protect my body because I struggled a lot last season, Sabalenka, 27, added. Even though the results were really consistent, some of the tournaments I had been playing completely sick or I've been really exhausted from overplaying. This season we will try to manage it a little bit better, even though they are going to fine me by the end. The WTA Tour has said player welfare will always remain a top priority. 4-time major singles winner Sabalenka says she is definitely not at my peak as she builds up to the Australian Open, where she is targeting a 3rd title in 4 years. Of course I prefer to win every match 6-0, 6-0, like everyone, but you only get better when someone pushes you, the 4-time major singles winner said. Sabalenka lost to Madison Keys in last year's Melbourne final. Elena Rybakina continued her strong form from last year, claiming 9 of the final 11 games in a 6-3 6-2 win over Spain's Paula Badosa. Kazakh Rybakina, who won Wimbledon in 2022, beat Sabalenka at the season-ending WTA finals and will be one of the title challengers in Melbourne. She will face Czech Karolina Muchova for a place in the Brisbane semifinals. Meanwhile, China's Zheng Qinwen, the 2024 Australian Open runner-up, has withdrawn from this year's opening Grand Slam event as she continues to recover from elbow surgery. To play a Grand Slam requires players to maintain an extreme competitive condition, the Olympic gold medalist wrote on Instagram. I have not yet reached the best condition that I have set for myself. In the men's event in Brisbane, Britain's Cameron Norrie fell 7-6, 7-4, 4-6, 6-4 to American world number 58 Alexander Kovacevic in the second round. In Auckland, former British number 1 Katie Boulter lost 7-5, 6-4 to Ukraine's Alina Svitolina in a competitive second-round match. Sona Iqbal was the sole British singles winner on Thursday, sweeping aside Germany's Ella Seidel 6-3, 6-1. Unprotected, Sabalenka and the weight of a relentless schedule. The tennis calendar does not sleep. It stretches endlessly, crossing continents, climates, and time zones, demanding excellence from bodies that bruise and minds that fray. For fans, it is a gift, always another match, another tournament, another story. For players, especially those at the top, it can feel like a quiet siege. Among them stands Aryna Sabalenka, powerful, passionate, unapologetically intense, and like many of her peers, largely unprotected by the very system that profits from her brilliance. Sabalenka's game is built on force. Thunderous serves, ground strokes that crack through courts like lightning, and a presence that announces itself before the first ball is struck. But power has a cost. The modern tennis schedule rarely accounts for the physical and emotional toll exacted on players whose styles demand maximum output every point. Sabalenka is expected to show up again and again, regardless of fatigue, injury risk, or mental strain. The calendar does not bend for her power, it exploits it. In theory, tennis is an individual sport of choice. Players can select their tournaments, manage their calendars, rest when needed. In practice, this freedom is an illusion, especially for top-ranked players. Ranking points must be defended. Mandatory events loom like checkpoints. Sponsorships, national expectations, and the invisible pressure of relevance all conspire against rest. For someone like Sabalenka, a Grand Slam champion and world number 1 contender, absence is not neutrality, it is vulnerability. When Sabalenka speaks about struggle, about double faults haunting her, about frustration boiling over, it is often framed as a personal flaw. Commentators dissect her temperament as if it exists in a vacuum. Rarely do they connect the dots between emotional volatility and a schedule that allows little room for recovery. The tennis world praises resilience but rarely questions why so much resilience is required in the first place. The phrase, player protection, is often used in hushed tones, like a luxury rather than a necessity. In other global sports, load management is strategic, institutionalized, even celebrated. In tennis, it is treated with suspicion. Rest is weakness. Withdrawal is drama. Burnout is personal failure. Sabalenka's visible emotions, her racket tosses, her screams, her tears, become evidence against her, rather than symptoms of a system that stretches athletes thin. There is also the unique burden placed on women players. The WTA calendar mirrors the ATP in intensity but often without equivalent structural support or financial cushioning beyond the elite. Sabalenka competes in a system that demands constant visibility while offering limited protection when the body or mind protests. She must be fierce but graceful, emotional but controlled, dominant but marketable. The schedule does not merely test her tennis, it tests her identity. What does it mean to be not protected in this context? It means playing through pain because rankings do not wait. It means flying overnight from one continent to another, adjusting to new surfaces and conditions, expected to perform as if the body were mechanical. It means knowing that a short break can unravel a season's worth of work. For Sabalenka, whose game relies on rhythm and confidence, constant disruption is especially cruel. Yet she persists. And in that persistence lies both her heroism and the tragedy of modern tennis. Sabalenka's resilience is celebrated, but it should not be required at this cost. Each explosive winner carries the weight of invisible exhaustion. Each smile at the net masks weeks of grind. The crowd sees the power, they do not see the ice baths at dawn, the lonely hotel rooms, the mental recalibration after yet another loss that shouldn't have happened. There is a growing chorus of players speaking out, about mental health, about injuries, about burnout, but change is slow. The schedule remains crowded, driven by commercial interests and tradition. Sabalenka, like many before her, navigates this landscape not because it is fair, but because it is the only path available. To step off is to risk everything she has built. Still, there is hope in visibility. Every time Sabalenka speaks honestly, every time she shows vulnerability on court, she challenges the myth of the invincible athlete. She forces fans and officials alike to confront an uncomfortable truth. Greatness should not require self-destruction. Protection should not be a privilege reserved for retirement speeches and retrospective sympathy.